Hey there, hey there, hey there. Hey, welcome to another lecture in personal finance. I'm Jim Munchback, 10 September, year of our Lord 2024. So we are now streaming live on Facebook and YouTube and X and LinkedIn. And we have the Zoom meeting going. So welcome if you're live in the Zoom meeting. Welcome if you're watching on the live stream somewhere out there on the internet. Today we're going to talk about I'm going to talk about the assignment for this week, which is my favorite, hands down, my favorite assignment to uh, grade, I guess. It's the parental interview, and it starts with the question, what's your first memories of money? So that's what we're going to spend some time on today. It's really an easy assignment, and I'll walk you through the assignment, answer any questions you might have, and we'll go from there. So I'm not going to get started officially for just a couple of minutes because we always want to give everybody a minute or two to just get here. If you want to be in the Zoom meeting is a great place to ask questions. If you have questions that you want to get answered, or you want to have some conversation about this week's assignment or last week's assignment or next week's assignment, then the Zoom meeting is a good place to be. It's obviously not required. This is an asynchronous course, so if you can make the Zoom meeting, I always appreciate having folks here. I've had a little conversation with Victoria about the hurricane, which is apparently, hopefully, not going to turn into a hurricane, but we will see. We will probably get some rain later today and tomorrow, but hopefully not. Hopefully it doesn't turn into another hurricane. Beryl was enough. Although this year has been a very, very slow year for what we expected. We expected a lot of named storms, and we didn't get them. Hopefully we won't get them. It would be a very, very busy season if we get anywhere near the number of storms that they expected going into the season. So hopefully we have a good, strong live stream. I'm not always sure how the live stream is going to go, but right now it looks like it's doing fine. We have a couple minutes after the hour. So let me just start by just jumping into, I'm going to jump into the, this is what we're going to talk about today. So I think we have everything set up just fine. First, memories of money. Like I said, that's kind of like the basis of the conversation that you're going to be asked to have with someone this week. But it's also a question I want to ask you to consider. So the name of the lesson is First Memories of Money and the Parental Interview. So let me just kind of walk through what we're going to cover this morning, and we'll get started here again just in a couple minutes. But I will talk about the class collaboration. We'll have a little conversation about that. But this last week in your assignment with the free credit report, I asked you to share with me what were some of your ideas for good class collaboration discussions. So I've been taking those and kind of reading and reviewing and analyzing those and preparing for a new set of class collaboration. So we'll talk about that probably next week, because I haven't graded everyone's articles or assignments this week, and so I want to get a chance to review all of those. So we'll talk about this week's class collaboration, and we'll talk about the whole new set of class collaboration topics that come from you. I'm excited about that. You guys had some really good suggestions, so we'll talk about that. This week, I want you to think about your first memories of money, and we'll talk about that over the next few minutes. And also, as we get into the parental interview, we'll talk about how that question will come into play. You may not know this, but over the years, I studied psychology in college, and I was always interested in psychology and sociology. And when I became a certified financial planner, it was fascinating to me to see how the way that we think about money impacts our financial behavior. And so this question related to your first memories of money is something more than just an interesting question. It's a question that has a tremendous amount of kind of backstory or psychology involved. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We will talk about your attitudes about money, and when you do the interview, you're going to get to learn from someone about their attitudes about money as well. Your childhood memories, that's kind of the first memories of money, typically go back to your first, when you were a child, when you were very young. So it's a question I've been asking for many years, and it's always an interesting conversation. So that's what we're going to focus on this week. Let's see what else. I will help you prepare for, I'll give you some background and some hopefully helpful suggestions for how you can conduct the parental interview this week. Excuse me. And I'll, kind of like I said, give you some ground rules. Then I'll share some specific questions. And when you review your assignment, you'll see that those questions are listed in the assignment. We'll spend a little time with question and answer. So if you have questions, you might want to prepare those now. I will be looking at the chat over here. Let me pull that up. So I will be looking at the chat as well in Zoom. I'm not going to be looking at the chat in YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn and X. So if you have questions, it's best to send those to where. If you have questions about the assignment, the best place to ask is in GroupMe. And if those questions don't get answered, then you're welcome to send them to me. And then I wouldn't ask them on YouTube typically, because I'm not going to be very on time getting you answers. So finally, we'll finish with the next time. So we will go to next time. All right. And it is time to get started. So let's do that. Let's get started. I'm going to jump into class collaboration. So let me get this out of the way, and I think I will get the ticker out of the way for a minute, and we'll talk a little bit about class collaboration. So again, like I said last week, you had a very different class collaboration assignment, which was to tell me what you think would be a good topic for class collaboration. And it really was a game changer for me to see kind of what you were thinking. And I've never asked that question before. I don't know why. It would have been a good question to ask, and I'm going to start asking that question in every semester. But you guys were the first for this particular class collaboration question. So we will come back to that. But like I said before, I haven't finished grading the assignments, so there's a lot more assignments I need to see, and I'm looking forward to reading what those students suggest for class collaboration. Naturally, the students who had early assignments submitted by Friday at 3 p.m., those were the students that I was able to see. And, I guess the truth is the students, those of you who take advantage of that early assignment, I'm finding that the quality of your work is it's excellent, and I appreciate that. So it's always, it helps me. I don't know if you know this, but it helps me to get your assignments early, because it just kind of helps me manage my workload, my workflow. And it helps you, because if you turn your assignments in early by Friday, 3 p.m., it gives me a chance to give you some feedback if you missed something. So thank you for doing that. And if you're not able to do that, I hope you can at least try. It's good for you. It's good for me. You get extra points and you get feedback. So anyway, that's that. So class collaboration discussion. Here's the secret class collaboration for this week's assignment. What time is it? It is 10:09 a.m. So there should maybe be a timestamp somewhere in here to help you find this. But this week's class collaboration is one that I started asking just a couple, I think in the summer session. But it is, how do you feel? What do you think about loan forgiveness. So that's a topic that's been in the news. It's an interesting topic. If you study the Constitution, if you study how Congress holds the purse strings for the government, and you know how all that works, it's an interesting conversation and an interesting topic to see how this is being used. In my opinion, there is certainly a question as to whether or not loan forgiveness is being used as a political topic, and that's not unusual in an election year for politicians to promise stuff that they may or may not be able to deliver, but their purpose is sometimes, it seems, occasionally, to try to win your vote. So politicians on both sides like to promise stuff and try to get you to vote for them because they're giving you stuff. And I think this one policy may be one of those. That's kind of just observations, but I'm curious, what do you think about student loan forgiveness? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it helpful? Is it something you think makes sense for the federal government to just basically forgive every student loan that's ever been taken out? Just share. That's your class collaboration assignment for this week. That's the secret one, so don't share that one in GroupMe. That's a secret class collaboration. So next, let's take a look at your first memories of money. Now, this is a question that I can't even tell you how impactful it's been in my career. I started out as a certified financial planner back in, I think, 2001. I became a certified financial planner. So I went to this residency program in Philadelphia in Bryn Mawr, and it was called FPA residency program. It was for new certified financial planners. And I had this mentor named Rich Basillo. He's still in the business, and he was one of the most impactful individuals in my career, and he really shaped, in this residency program as my mentor, he really shaped the way that I thought about the business of financial planning. And one of the things he taught me was he would always ask his clients about their first memories of money. And I thought, as soon as he asked that question, as soon as he said it and started to describe it, I started to think about my first memories of money. So he kind of set the table. He said, maybe it was your first paycheck. Maybe it was allowance. Maybe it was the money that was left under your pillow when you were, the tooth fairy came to see you when you were a kid. He just kind of set the table and let our minds wander around the idea of our first memories of money. And it was just a fascinating experience for me because I immediately recognized how relevant that was to the role of helping someone put together a financial plan. Because of my background in psychology and because of my training in sociology and psychology, it just made all the sense in the world to me. So it became probably my favorite question to ask when I'm meeting with someone for the first time. I always like to ask and just carve out some time in our first meeting to talk about their first memories of money. It helps me get to know them, but it helps them get to know themselves as well. It's really fun to do when you're with a couple, because this is a question that most people in my business as financial professionals, most people don't ask this question. It seems really warm and fuzzy and not all that relevant, but it turns out it's extremely relevant. So I want you to think about your first memories of money. And I want you to share that somewhere in the money study group. You'll have places to share, but you can share it in your assignment. It's part of the instructions in the assignment. So I hope you'll just let that question become something that's helpful. And we'll talk about that more throughout this assignment. So one of the things that I learned is that when someone shares their first memories of money with me, it is quite interesting to recognize, just to step back and look at their financial behavior. So one of the best clients I ever had was my Uncle Hank. Hank has passed, but he he was a mentor in my life, someone that I looked up to, and incredibly impactful human being in his community and his family, and certainly in my family. In fact, when my wife and I got married, we went to meet my family in Kentucky, Bowling Green, Kentucky, and that's where Hank lived, and he was my uncle, and I couldn't wait to introduce my new bride to my Uncle Hank. And when she met Hank, she recognized immediately, my wife Connie did, that he was a very unique, a very awesome dude. And so, anyway, from then on, whenever we had a challenge in our marriage, in our life, she would always say, well, what would Hank do? And that was kind of, you know, a great way for me to kind of think about what might I do, what would Hank do? And so anyway, Hank was one of my best clients. He trusted me to help him with a financial plan and his investment management. And it was just a joy and a pleasure, a privilege and honor to do that for him and his family. But when I had the opportunity, I went to Bowling Green, and it was, I think, a Tuesday morning, but it was a beautiful day in the autumn, kind of like this time of year. And Hank and I went for a walk, and I asked him the question about his first memories of money. And if you read my book, Make Your Money Count, you'll see that in the chapter, First Memories of Money, there's Hank's story. So you'll get to read that this week as you study, and in Money Study Group, I share that story about Hank. And when you read that, you'll see kind of the revelation that happened to me, and having this conversation with a man that I loved, that I looked up to, that I admired and respected as much as any human being I've ever known. And so you'll get to read that from my book, Make Your Money Count. And that really sets the table for what we're going to talk about in the next few minutes, because I want you to be thinking about who you will interview in your family. The parental interview is it's for uncles, aunts, parents, grandparents. It's not for your roommate. It's not for your sibling. It's not even for your cousins. It's for someone who's older than you, who has more experience than you in life, someone with more wisdom. I just had to check to make sure we're still live streaming. It looks like we are, which is good news. I hope it's going well. And I'm not seeing any questions, so I'm going to just keep on going. So let's go to the next topic. So financial behavior is something that this question, First Memories of Money, kind of identifies and highlights. So again, your attitudes, how you think about money, is so often shaped by your very early memories. And when you read Hank's story, that'll make a lot more sense. So I'm hoping that you spend some time this week in this assignment thinking about your attitudes, how you think about money, because how you think about money or life or relationships, how you think determines what you do. It determines your behavior. So your attitudes about money, that's something I want you to reflect on and think about this week. Next, I want just to kind of plant the seed again that if this assignment goes the way that I'm hoping it will go, you will experience some deeper insights about who you are, how you think about money, how you behave around money, what your habits are. And that's really one of the important outcomes of this assignment. It's not just, it's, you got your first memories of money, which will help you start to reflect and think about who you are and how you think about money. But really, you're going to do something unique in interviewing someone in your family who they don't have to be in your family. That could be someone, that you've looked up to, maybe a godfather, godmother, someone though. And those deeper insights, that's really the purpose of this assignment. And again, we're focusing on childhood memories. That's just part of the conversation, as part of the interview. But your childhood memories and their childhood memories, when you interview them, you'll see that the questions in that interview include that. So don't forget those. Don't overlook how valuable they might be. And So let's just move right on. You, like I said, Rich Basillo, the guy that turned me on to this question, he set the table. He set the table for how to ask this question, and so one of the things is your first allowance. Maybe you didn't get allowance. Maybe that's not part of your family schema. We didn't get allowance, so it's interesting though when I listen to people who share their first memories of money. A lot of times the first memory of money, a childhood memory, involves the first time they got paid an allowance. And so maybe that's you, maybe that's not you. But if you think about it, if you're a child and you're getting paid an allowance, I'm about to sound like Kamala Harris. So if you're a child and you get paid an allowance, then your allowance is what you get paid. Sorry, I couldn't help it. So your allowance is it. It's interesting because an allowance is something that you get paid to do chores to help out around the house or whatever. But in reality, every family has a ton of things that need to be done. And one of the best ways to train a child is to give them the ability to help. And that is payment beyond money. But nonetheless, I use allowance with my grandkids because, well, not it's not really allowance, I guess, but I like to pay them to do stuff because I want them to learn the value of money. So it's a tool. Allowance can be a tool in a family for training young people, children, how to manage money and how to develop work ethic. But that's I just wanted to mention that, and I want you to think about it. Whether or not that's part of your experience, your first allowance is an interesting part of the conversation. And your first paycheck is obviously one as well. Again, this is part of how Rich set the table. But when I asked my wife Connie, and we've been married for a long time, but when I asked her, when I wrote my book, Make Your Money Count, I asked everybody, what's your first memories of money? And it was a very interesting experience. But my wife, Connie, she worked at a place called Catfish Parlor when she was 15 years old. So you could work when I was a kid, you could work when you were 15, you could actually get a job. And she did that. I believe she was 15, maybe 16. But anyway, her first job, her first real job where she got a paycheck was Catfish Parlor. And so she told me about her first paycheck. Her first paycheck she saved because there was this pair of boots, leather boots. My wife grew up in Austin, Texas, so she was a Texan through and through. She's so excited about football season starting because she's a Cowboys fan, and she really gets excited about watching football. Sunday, the Cowboys won. Yay! Our dog, Lucy, I should show you pictures of Lucy, but I don't have any handy. She's a little Yorkshire Terrier. She's a beautiful dog, best dog we ever had. Lucy sits by my wife all the time on the couch, but when she watches football, Lucy gets freaked out because my wife gets so excited about the Cowboys. But anyway, my wife, who's a Texan, wanted to use her first paycheck to buy a pair of boots. So she did. She saved her first paycheck. She saved her money until she had enough money to go to Dillard's department store and buy a pair of leather boots. And her first memory of money is that pair of boots. And her takeaway is she always felt like, she saved that money and she was so excited to buy those boots. But then as soon as she bought those boots, it was like, that was a waste of money. It was the whole paycheck, maybe more than one paycheck, but she took that money and she saved it to buy those boots, and she realized there's no real value in owning those boots. And so her first memory of money with those boots set the table for the rest of her life. My wife, Connie, is like the most frugal human being you will ever meet. And so she doesn't spend her money on boots and clothes, and she shops at resale shops, and she gets great deals, and she buys stuff that you would never know was pre-owned. She's the most frugal human being she's frugal like my Uncle Hank. When you read his story, you'll see he's very frugal too. He was very frugal. Anyway, it's funny. bottom line, if you're a frugal person like my wife Connie, like my Uncle Hank, you tend to be wealthy because you work hard, you're industrious, you're frugal, you save money, you don't spend money on stuff just to impress people. You'd rather, you'd rather save and invest in things that matter. And that's what, if you're married to a person like that, like my wife Connie, it's a real blessing, as opposed to being married to someone like me who's a spendthrift. I mean, I like to spend money. So if you're married to someone who loves to spend money, and that's expensive, okay? So anyway, that's that. Your first paycheck. That was my wife's first paycheck. It was her first memory of money, and it's interesting. So somehow in your life and in the person who you're going to interview, somehow in their life, memories of money, first memories, especially early childhood memories, it has an impact, like I shared. And you'll read about Hank and his story, his first memories, and what happened in his life. I just shared my wife's first memory of money and the impact it had on her, how it shaped her spending over her lifetime. And that's what we're looking for. That's what I'm hoping you will discover as you do this interview and as you think about your first memories of money. Okay, let's talk about the big lesson this week, the parental interview. So I want you to be thinking about who it is that you're going to interview. And I want you to know this is a parental interview. The reason we call it a parental interview is because your assignment is to interview someone who's older than you. So it's not a roommate, it's not a sibling, it's not even a cousin. It's a parent, it's a grandparent, it's an aunt, an uncle, someone who you can look at in your family or in your community, preferably your family, because there'll be more schema, more shared values, more relevance for you to glean from. But you want to find someone, think about someone, just like I did with my Uncle Hank, someone who you think can help you grow in wisdom, someone who can share from their life experience so that you have the benefit of learning from their decisions, from their choices, from their experience. So that's what I want you to think about. Who is the person that you are going to interview for this parental interview? And so that's the first thing I want to say in helping you prepare for the interview. The other thing is I want you to just be aware. Okay, I want you to be aware that when you approach this person, two things. Number one, by choosing them, you're kind of putting them in a place of being able to acknowledge to them that you believe they're someone that you could benefit from their wisdom. And I want you to just affirm them in that way. Like, I want to grow. I want to learn. I'm studying money management, personal finance, and I have this assignment, and I'm supposed to think of someone and look for someone in my family that I respect who I think can help me learn some life principles about financial management. And I've chosen you. I want you to kind of set the table in that way, because that's a huge compliment. And I don't want you to miss that. But I want you to experience that too. I want you to know that by listening to someone and letting them share their story and asking them to share their wisdom with you, that's an affirmation. It's an important part of this process. That's number one. And number two is when you start asking the questions that you will see in the assignment, I want you just to be aware. I want you to be considerate. I want you to be prepared to know that maybe there's some pain, maybe there's some shame, maybe there's some things in their experience that could be painful or even awkward. And just be prepared for that. You don't have to fix anything, you don't have to do anything. Just listen and sit, and if that turns out to be the case, if you ask someone to share their first memories of money and there's a lot of pain in that and that sharing, just be prepared for that. It's part of the gift, believe it or not. And all you need to do is be a human being who cares, who listens, and who learns and grows through what they share. If they're willing to share that with you, that means they respect you. That means they trust you. And so I'm hoping that some of you will have that experience. And I want you to be prepared for it. So that's pretty much the preparation I wanted to give you for the interview. In conducting the interview, just a couple ground rules, I guess. It would be good if you could do the interview in person, just like it would be good if we could do this class in person, but instead we're doing it this way. You can do the interview by phone, by Zoom, or you can do it over a cup of coffee or a piece of pie. That would be my favorite, a piece of pecan pie with some coffee. That's not supposed to happen, though. Anyway, in person would be best, but it's up to you. It could be over the phone, but I think you'll appreciate the fact that if you do it in person, it will be more impactful and better. But you don't get extra points for doing it in person. You just get extra benefits. So again, when you do the interview, I want you to be present. So if the TV's on or the radio's on or there's a lot of distractions, you know what? Just don't do it. Wait until you can carve out some time where you can be focused, where they can be focused. So, obviously I can't monitor how you do the interview, but I just want to encourage you to do the interview in a way that will allow you and them to experience the best of the possible results and outcomes from this experience. So the questions you're going to ask are outlined in the assignment. I'll just go over a couple of them. The first one is obviously the first memories of money, and then if the family member that you're interviewing is married, it's a good topic, a good area of conversation to talk about how did you guys, when you got married, how did you handle money? What was the mode of operation you had? You could learn so much from married folks who have been married for a long time, or unfortunately, folks who maybe went through a divorce, because you'll find in doing this interview, you're going to find that money is a very important topic in relationships. If they're married, it's a very important topic. It can really help build the relationship, or it can really destroy the relationship. And if you don't already know that, then this week, this lesson, this assignment could be life-changing for you. If you don't know that, you're going to learn some things that you really need to know for your own sake, for your own future, for the future of your family and your marriage. Hopefully you get to share your life and your love and your money with someone you care about. Seems like a very beautiful part of life. I hope you agree. I hope that's not offensive to anybody. I couldn't wait to get married. When I was a little kid, I wanted to find a wife. I was kind of hoping I could find a beautiful wife, and I did. I even prayed from the time I was 12 years old. I grew up in a very religious family, and I believed in God, and I was taught that God controls so many things, and that he created us, and that he created marriage. And so I thought, why not ask him for a beautiful wife? And I meant it, and I prayed it. And when I met my wife, Connie, I was in college in Springfield, Missouri, and I'll never forget when I met her, we spent a couple hours walking around campus getting to know each other, and I went back to my dorm room, and I had two roommates. They were brothers from Detroit. I was from Lansing, Michigan. They were from Detroit, Michigan. We were in Springfield, Missouri, and I told these guys, Brian and Craig Anderson, from Detroit, I told him, I met the woman I'm going to marry. Now, I didn't tell Connie that. She didn't believe it either when I finally told her. But my point is, I knew when I met this woman that she was the one I wanted to marry. That may be bizarre, but I really value marriage. I've been married to the same woman all these years, and I'm very, very, very thankful she puts up with me. And like I said, she's frugal, so financially, she's a great deal. Way better deal than me. She got that best end of that deal, no doubt about it. So, questions to ask: first memories of money. How did finances affect your marriage, affect your relationship? Another one is a good question. I think this is in the assignment instructions is what's your experience, good and bad, with investing and finances? Just what's your experience with managing money, good and bad? That's a great question. I ask that question pretty much to every new client I meet. I want to know, what's your experience? Like, are you good at this? Or did you, and usually most of the time, folks will tell me about mistakes that they've made that they've learned from. And that's what I want you to learn from. I want you to gain the insights from not just the good, but some of the mistakes as well. So spend some time and be focused. This is a really important assignment. If you haven't already figured that out, at least from my perspective, it can really help you. So these questions are really important. Next, just let me summarize the parental interview. How can I summarize it? Well, I think I've covered everything pretty well. The summary is that you're going to invite someone who you look up to in your family, hopefully in your family, to share with you their insights, their life story, basically, specifically financial stuff from their first memory of money to how they managed it in their marriage. You're going to invite them to share their wisdom with you. That's what this parental interview is about. And that's kind of the summary. There's some questions that need to be part of the conversation, the interview, starting with their first memories of money, because that will set the table. When you ask that question, just listen and watch. What you'll discover is if you're with them, if you're in person, this may not happen over the phone. So hopefully you'll be with them and you'll be able to experience kind of watching them relive their first memories of money. It's a really fascinating, at least it has been. It's not always the same, but for a lot of people, nobody's asked them that question ever. And you may be the first, and it could be a very interesting and revealing experience for them and for you. And yeah, just like I said before, reflecting on the past can be a really helpful, informing, revealing tool for you and for them, but for you in particular. This assignment is for you. So I hope you will take advantage of that. All right. Finally, in reviewing, summarizing the interview, I want you to know that, you know, it may not seem like this is all that important because it may not even seem that relevant to personal finance, but it can be, and I hope it will be. Like, you could 10 years from now look back at this experience in this interview, and there may be an idea, there may be a sharing that happens. I have no idea what it might be, but I do know that it could be significant for you. So, I hope that that you recognize that this assignment is it's more than just an assignment to get some points. This is it can be, I'll tell you what my mentor, Rich, told me. He would ask these questions like, what's your first memory of money and all of that, to get to know folks, because he felt like it was his job. And I totally bought into what he taught me as a certified financial planner. And that is, if I really understand you, if I know what matters most to you, then I can help you create a financial plan that will connect to what matters most to you. And it will be motivating to you That plan won't just be a piece of paper. It'll be a real live kind of document that helps guide you through the choices and decisions you need to make with money so that you can get from where you are to where you want to be in life. If I understand what matters most to you, then I can help you a lot more. So that was what Rich helped me understand in asking these questions, because what Rich believed and what he told us is that he wanted to, in this first meeting and asking these questions, his goal was to develop an environment of trust between the folks he would be serving and himself. And he said that he believed that that was a sacred trust, that his role as their financial planner involved trust, which was, in his opinion, a sacred trust. So if you read my books, I wrote a book called What Matters Most. I can't remember the subtitle, Creating a Purpose-Centered Alliance to Help Fulfill Your Clients' Dreams and Yours Too. It's a book about sales, but it teaches new financial advisors, or not new, but financial advisors, how to create a financial plan based on what matters most to the client. And it came from the title, and the ideas came from this residency program. And Rich in particular, when he shared that trust is what matters most. That's the first line in my first book, What Matters Most. But it's a sacred trust. So what I'm saying is, for you in this interview, you're going to, if you do it halfway right, you're going to develop a greater level of trust between you and the person that you're interviewing. And that trust is where they share things that are personal and sometimes painful. So do well. Go forth and do this interview with that level of respect. I hope you will do that. Okay, so let's move on. Q&A session. I'm looking. I have a question. Oh, great, Victoria. I'm going to answer your question. Let me read it first. I have a question regarding the parental interview. Would I be allowed to interview one of my older siblings that raised me? Wow, that's a unique question. Usually I'd say no to the siblings. I'm going to say, Victoria, here's what I'm going to say. Officially, no, you cannot interview a sibling because it's a parental interview. However, I'm going to say, just secretly, in parentheses, for you, Victoria, yes, I would love to read that interview. But everyone else, unless you kind of have a really good reason, like Victoria sounds like she does, the answer is no. This is a parental interview. So this is a parental interview. If you send me an interview with your sibling, your roommate, a cousin, you're going to get huge deductions. So turn it in early so I can tell you that, so you can then turn around and redo it. But for you, Victoria, you get a special pass because you're here to ask the question and you've made me curious. So thank you for the question. Any other questions? I don't see any in the Zoom room. I should jump over to check out YouTube, but I'm not going to. We're getting close to time to wrap it up. So it looks like the live stream has done just fine, and I'm sitting there with nothing on the Q&A session. That's a mistake. So let me see if I have anything on the next. I think I do when I hit the next one. Next time, I don't. Okay, so I'm going to, let's see. I'm going to go back here. Oh man, I've been posting without any moving stuff on the screen, so forgive me for that. I'm going to just go back here. And let's just see if I covered everything. Give me just a second. We did the class collaboration. Let me just jump through these real quick and make sure we did everything. And I'm not seeing any questions, so let's just wrap it up with a quick review. We talked about class collaboration discussion. If you missed it, this week's secret class collaboration is, how do you feel about student loan forgiveness? I'm going to come back to all of those awesome ideas that you guys have had that I asked you last week to share about your suggestions for class collaboration topics. Can't wait to put that together and continue to develop that. That's going to be a real game changer for this course, and I appreciate your great ideas. Thank you for that. I think I pounded this one in, your first memories of money, how it affects your financial behavior, your attitudes about money, and it starts with your childhood memories. So that is all good, and we covered that, I think, pretty well. We covered the parental interview, the preparation. Hopefully you didn't miss that. If you did, go back and watch it again. Conducting the interview, I said a few ground rules for that, and hopefully that was helpful. Don't forget to read the instructions where you will see the ground rules and also questions to ask. We did question and answer session, and Victoria got that secret free pass to do a very special interview. But remember, this is a parental interview. Parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, godfathers, godmothers. It's not roommates, and it's not siblings. Victoria, you got a special pass. Thanks for asking. And then next time, what is next time? Next time is, we jump right back into building your financial plan. I believe next week we're going to talk about the Credit Crush assignment. We're going to do the setup, and you're going to learn. In fact, I want to cover a couple of questions that I got this week real quick. One of them is, what was one of them? So I got a lot of questions about not being able to do your credit report, and my answer was just go ahead and do the alternative assignment if for whatever reason you cannot get a credit report. It's too late for that now because the assignment was due at 10 a.m. But that was, many of you demonstrated a great deal of initiative and wisdom in going ahead and just doing that alternative assignment. Thank you for that. Good for you. I got a question just like 20 minutes before class, and the question was, can I still get the extra points for turning it in early? The student was not able to get a credit report, so now they're sending me an email at 9 a.m. the day the assignment's due, wanting to know if they can get an early credit. So I'm like, no, here's how that works. Early points are available if you turn your assignment in by Friday at 3 p.m. Now, if you waited until Friday at 2 p.m. to get your credit report and you weren't able to, and you didn't have time to do the alternative assignment by Friday at 3 p.m., then the answer is no, you didn't earn the extra points, sorry. And that's just how that works. The extra points are available for students who turn their assignment in by Friday at 3 p.m. So hopefully that, I think I answered the question by email as well, but I thought I'd mention that. I can't think of any other questions I got this week. I'm sure I missed a couple, but next week, this coming week, I'll keep track of all the questions I get. And if you have any questions, feel free to post them in GroupMe. And if you don't get an answer there, then reach out to me. So it is now 10:48 a.m., which is a little early, but I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. If there are no questions, I am going to wrap it up and say thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. And I'm going to go post this video in our YouTube playlist. So let me just go back here and make sure that we have that on the screen. We do. uhplaylist.com. That is where this semester's playlist is going to be posted, and it is going to be there as soon as I end this. So I'm going to go ahead and end the Zoom meeting now. You guys, thanks for being here, and have a great week. And thanks for your question, and good to talk with you, Victoria. I hope the hurricane doesn't hit. See you next time. Bye. Oh, sorry. I just ended it and she was talking. Sorry about that. Thank you. Okay, so that ends the meeting. The meeting is closed. And now I'm going to close the live stream. So thanks for watching on YouTube, Facebook, X, LinkedIn. My favorite social media platform is LinkedIn. So if you're watching on LinkedIn, feel free to leave a comment. And by the way, the link to the post, a link to the post for this week's assignment is in the video. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to take this video and actually embed it in the post, but the link should already be there in the comments below. So if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, there should be a link in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'm going to end the broadcast now.